Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee. So why am I late today? Well, I went back to sleep and I got up about 6:30, which is very early for me. Sometimes I get up at 4, 5 usually. And then I got confronted with a massive, massive amount of news about the daughter of Babylon, America, and it was huge. So I put it all together with what else is going on with Gaza, which is still rather substantial news there too. I'm not very concerned with Russia and Ukraine and nor Iran at this minute, but we'll get into it today. Basically, there was 3 mass shootings in America, and one we can call it a mass stabbing, though it was only 2 people that got stabbed uh, in a hiking trail in Arkansas. That's in one day in the daughter of Babylon. So I think it's fair to say it's accelerating. Earthquakes was substantial yesterday. There was, I'll go through it, don't worry. Let me get into the live stream and make sure we got a live stream, and we'll be doing our binding and loosing and all our good stuff, don't worry. And God willing, we'll be doing it. Okay. Something's not right here. No, that's wrong. Okay, let me get back where I was. Where's it going? Okay, here I am. Now I got it right. I don't know what was going on. Okay. Here I am. Now I got it right. I don't know what was going on. All right, we got sound in the picture. I'm gonna put my post up and we'll get it going here. Well, something got messed up here, but we'll fix it, I think. It didn't work. And it worked. Okay, good enough. Anyway, people are coming in. Look, guys, there's going to be there's hundreds of millions of people that do not believe America's the daughter of Babylon. You have to understand it. I would say if those that read the Bible would hold themselves out to be a Christian, probably someplace between 10 and 40% would think America's the daughter of Babylon. I don't know exactly where it is, but I would say it's at least 10%. Because there are people that understand the evil that's being done in America, not that they do anything about it, but they understand it. Okay, time for praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. This is the remnants of a piece of what's called the Jerusalem Bagel, which is about a foot, and it's shaped like this. It's a circle, kind of rectangular shaped circle. And instead of putting salt on it the correct way, like they do in America, they put sesame seeds on it, which is stupid. They put sesame seeds on everything. You get sick of it here. I mean, it's sickening. Okay. The shooting in New York City and Manhattan on Park Avenue. I believe it was in the 50s. The streets. Now, Park Avenue, Broadway, streets like that run one way, north to south, basically. The numbered streets run east to west, or west to east. So it was around 52nd Street, something like that. And the shooter was, we're told so far, he was a Middle Eastern male. He came up on cameras, and I saw him walking into the building with an assault rifle with a scope and a large clip, probably at least 20 rounds, holding it on his side against his leg to keep it as inconspicuous as you can. He looked cool, calm, and collected. I think he understood that he wasn't leaving there alive. Maybe not. Maybe he thought he could do the plinking, which is really sniping, and then get out of there, but that's highly unlikely. It was an office building. People on the floor of the building barricaded themselves in the office. He wasn't focusing on them. Why? He could have killed more of them easily. New York City has psychotic gun control, similar to what the piece of garbage Netanyahu imposes on Israel, but different, quite different. But anyway, he probably could have killed more, just going in the offices and shooting them up, but he didn't, because the terror aspects of this shooting were far more frightening. I think he was on the 32nd, 33rd floor of this office building, shooting at the people with a scoped rifle. People didn't know what hit them until they got hit. He killed one cop, I believe 5 dead, 6 wounded. Then he shot himself. I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't keep going. Maybe he felt the end was in sight. Maybe cops were in the hallway banging on the door, come out. He was afraid maybe they would wound him, and then he would get caught and go through terrible interrogation, which wouldn't be the case, but he might have thought that. And get tortured or whatever. I don't know. But he got 5 kill shots in. The guy knew what he was doing. Okay, this is likely not some deranged young person or old person that just buys a gun and goes up there and starts shooting, they probably wouldn't ever try taking shots from 30-something floors up. They wouldn't hit anything. This guy was shooting probably moving targets, people that were walking, so he had to lead them a little bit. Shooting down from 320, 350 feet, or wherever he was at, is a little tricky. This guy had been trained, and he was a military-aged Middle Eastern male, in shape, looked fit, knew how to use the rifle, calmly went in the office building, went up the elevator, locked himself in the office. I don't know what he did about that, and he went to the window, probably got a chair, probably put a few clips out, tuned his scope in for the appropriate range, and started killing people. One cop got killed. That high up, the chances of a cop hitting him with a pistol are, 1 in 100. You try shooting a pistol up at that kind of an angle, it's really hard. You have to account for drops. If you wanted to hit the 32nd floor, I don't think you could get it with a pistol, but I mean easily or at all. But you'd probably have to shoot for floor 34, and no cop's going to do that, because what if it goes into 34th floor? No cop in his right mind is going to take a shot like that. No federal agent, nobody. That's for SWAT sniper people to do. And they would probably attempt to do it from a building or an office of a height that was close to that. They would prefer to have the distance of an extra 100 or 200 meters or yards, and get the height so they can get right in there without having to worry about aiming. You know, you don't want to aim up because the bullet's going to. It's just, I wouldn't attempt a shot like that with a handgun. Well, and how are you going to get deep in the window anyway? You know, it doesn't make sense. And he knew that. If he was on a roof, guess what? If he was going to do an extended sniping routine, a helicopter comes with a sniper rifle and a SWAT guy, and they hover. He gets a target lock with the scope, fires, and that's the end of the guy. He has no place to hide. Or they could hit him from another rooftop where he's exposed. They can move in with those shields they have, which have an armored window in it, and they'll stop a rifle, and they could get positioned behind something, and they let them have it. If the roof they go on is higher than the roof he is on, it makes it even easier. So he picked his target. He picked his position. Pretty good. This guy was not an illiterate amateur idiot. Okay, why he took himself out so early, I don't know. It seems to me he could have killed more people. He might have been obsessed with not getting taken alive. So he definitely was playing the jihad game, for sure. I mean, I can't think anything but that. Now, the people in New York City are going to be scared. Why? Because they're helpless. If some shooter emerges in the street, they could run away, they could hide, go behind a building, run in someplace. Cops are walking around on the street, they could return fire. The guy, even if he has a machine gun, even in a heavy caliber like AK-47 or 308, a cop could still take cover and kill him with the pistol if he knows how to shoot. And, with the New York City cops, having grown up there, I would say that probably 10 to 20% of them are actually the kind of people that pay attention to shooting. Most of them just want to pass the qualifications every year or two whenever they got to go. But there's a small amount of them that really practice. He scared New York. Bad. 400 cops came to the scene. Could you imagine 400 cops? That's bigger than the sheriff's department I was in. I mean, that's a lot in one area. And they were probably setting up for sniping at them and, evacuating people out of the area, stuff like that. But they had the people on the street they had to worry about. Then they had the other office buildings. You could start shooting in the windows. Oh, yeah. The first thing New York City cops would do is evacuate the buildings, the people in the street, cut the traffic off with the cars, and they probably would have had to go out 500 or 600 meters to be comfortable. And, a good old boy would have just tried to kill him, They'd get the people, they'd find out where his office is, run up there with machine guns, probably 8 or 10 of them, get the people out of there, and then just start unloading into the office with the closed barricaded door he probably had, and then he'd be dead. That's what would happen. But New York City would have evacuated off the street, then the buildings and the traffic, of course, and then started negotiations. It's a weak police department. Okay. So people feel very insecure walking out in the street because you don't know when it's going to hit them. Now, was this a sleeper agent? High probability. Very high. Now, are they going to continue these type of attacks? Knowing the way the terrorists work, yes, but at some point they're going to diversify the attacks. How do you diversify the attacks? They'll use explosives. A number of ways to do that. They can go on a subway in New York or other cities that use subways, or a bus, and act low profile. They could use a woman. Use a woman carrying a real live baby with a bag that has a bottle and diapers sticking out of it, a big bag. And she sits on the subway near the door. She doesn't care what her stop is. She doesn't have a stop. Well, she probably does have a stop. She needs an evac. So she comes to her stop. She has the baby's bag on the floor by her feet or on the seat next to her. Maybe she has a stroller with her and the baby's in the stroller. Comes to the stop, the door's open, she waits a few seconds. Then she stands up with the baby and jumps out, the doors close. The train pulls away. Her accomplice on the station watches. Does his cell phone activation of the bomb in the baby's bag, which is going to have nuts and screws around a few kilos of explosives in the bag. Maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds of explosives with hundreds of pieces of screws and machine nuts. Probably give the train 15-second fuse, or maybe 5 seconds. They would want the bomb to go off when the train pulled out of the station, so that people couldn't just walk off on the platform. They want more chaos than they have. The people wouldn't understand what happened in America. In Israel, they'd know. They'd run away from the bomb, or they'd throw it out the window or something like that. But in America, they wouldn't understand. And it'll blow them up and kill quite a few people because the explosion would be contained. And lots of people would be injured by the shrapnel. And they may do it without the shrapnel because you're going to have a high death count. Now, on a bus, it's a little trickier, but there's not much difference. You put the bag under the seat and you ride on the bus and you get your stop where you got your accomplice. They get off the stop, leaving the bag there. The accomplice or them activates the bomb with the cell phone, which can be an immediate detonation, that it could wait till the bus gets 60 or 100 yards away and detonate. That's not going to hurt them. And that's it. And you can also do it in a restaurant. You go into the restaurant, you sit down, you order a meal, you eat it leisurely, you talk on your cell phone, you act like everything is normal, and you get up like you're going to go to the bathroom, and you leave the restaurant, and you detonate. Another trick, although you know all about car ramming, they do that in America. They'll try car explosions. A suicidal jihadist fills his car with 3, 4, 500 pounds of explosives, whatever they put in there, 2,000, whatever, starts driving, gets to a highly populated area, goes with the Allah Akbar, hits the detonator, blows himself up, and people near there get killed too. The idea is to make the people feel defenseless. Okay? If they want to shut the economy down, they'll attack the malls, the restaurants, places like that, bars, nightclubs. If they just want to kill count, they'll do explosive devices on the subways, on the buses, on public streets, more sniping. It just depends which way they want to go. When they do the sniping from rooftops or office buildings, apartments, hotels, you got to remember that these lunatics can always get a hotel room in a high-rise hotel anywhere in any city. They'll have a credit card. That's not hard to do. They'll give them a stolen one or someone else's credit card that lives in Pakistan or Iran or I don't know. They'll get on a high floor. They'll make sure the hotel has windows that open. Old hotels have windows that open. And he'll find ways to barricade himself in the room, set up with a good vantage point, and start shooting. And his rifle sits in the suitcase when he checks into the hotel. They don't put metal detectors and X-ray luggage when people go to a hotel. It's easily done. In other countries like Israel and other countries, what the terrorists like to go after are the security establishment, which is the military, the national police, the national intelligence services, like FBI, CIA, and the local law enforcement, the sheriffs, the police, the state troopers. But they don't want to, they want to get groups of them. They want to get a cluster of them. So that's what they usually try for. Look, I remember some terrorists that went into a crowded restaurant in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem 4 or 5 years ago, and they ordered a meal. And they ate, I think it was just dessert they had, I can't remember. They had something like that. These were dedicated jihadists that were so deceived. They thought when they finished, they were going to wind up in paradise with their virgins. They were convinced of this, believe me. They enjoyed their last meal, right? Then they went, while they were in the restaurant, stood up and started shooting people, execution style. Now, there was a few people in the restaurant that had firearms. I don't remember how it ended. I think they ran out of the restaurant. They got caught. So in addition, on the same day, now I don't have all the great details on this one yet. It was Sierra Resort, I think. Yeah, I'll get you the name. It was in Reno, Nevada. Same day. Let's get the details for you. Oh, by the way, Thailand and Cambodia ceasefire kaput. They're still killing each other. They started up again. You could forget that ceasefire. Another Trump idiocy. They were just acting nice to Trump or something like that. I don't know. Also, Trump reduced the time he was going to wait for Putin to do his ceasefire to 10 or 12 days from yesterday. I think 12. So what? What's Trump going to do? You want me to tell you what Trump's going to do? Nothing. Put sanctions on Russia. Maybe sanctions on people that do business with Russia. That's all Trump's going to do. Plus, give more long-range weapons to Ukraine. That's all Trump's going to do. And do you think that Putin is going to attack America because of that? Maybe. Beijing had a flood, 30 people dead and 80,000 evacuated. That's the capital of China. Beijing! Oh! All right, let me get my notes on where the other shooting is. The shooter, the mass shooter, was in the Grand Sierra Resort in Reno, Nevada. He is in custody. He is not dead. We're waiting the details. 3 dead and 8 injured. That was serious. 3 dead, 8 injured. Now that's going to start messing with commerce if they do Reno and Las Vegas and Atlantic City, where the gambling casinos and all that are. If they do it once, it ain't going to mean anything. If they keep doing it, yeah, they won't go to the casinos. Then the mob will try to kill the terrorists, won't they? You bet they will, if they can. In Atlanta, we had another mass shooting. I didn't get the details on this one yet, but it was 1 dead and 10 injured. That's 11 people. Okay, somebody knows what they're doing, okay? Each of these shootings, there was over 10 people dead or injured. Think about that. Smells like military-age males that have been trained, to me. Two people were walking on a trail, so obviously not in a city, in a wooded area or someplace. In Arkansas, if you don't know, that's a state in America. In Arkansas, and there was apparently a couple with 2 daughters. Some whack job attacked them with a knife. Apparently the 2 daughters ran away, but he got them. I don't know the extent of the injuries. And I don't know much about what happened to him yet. This is all breaking, quick developing stuff. So you really had 4 attacks in one day. I think the 2 parents were hurt or dead. So when you look at that alone, you could say, "Oh, it's just a coincidence," Yeah, let's try something a little different. Okay, let's put this up with the earthquakes, and now let's talk about earthquakes yesterday. We're getting Mark 13. What is the word? Something like serious or big earthquakes in different places. That's Luke 21 and Matthew 24 don't say large earthquakes or substantial, but it does say that in Mark 13. Let me get the earthquake stats for you. It'll be a moment. There's so much happening. I mean, just right off the top, Thailand and Cambodia are continuing to fight through their ceasefire. How about that? Another victory for the Donald. What a schmuck. That guy is so scared of his own shadow, and, he doesn't know what he's doing. Trying to be fair to Trump, I looked at several videos the Democrats apparently are putting out that Melania was implicated with Epstein and all that. What they're saying is Melania was an Epstein sex worker, and Epstein introduced Melania to Trump. Can this be proven? No. Did I see any evidence to this effect? No. Do I think it's somewhat possible to be the case? Yeah. The Melania transactional person posed in a lying way for full body nudes in magazines. So if this Melania thing did that, I would be very quick to believe that this Melania thing was working with Epstein. Epstein and the woman Maxwell were both transactional individuals. You got to get that down. I'm quite sure on both of them. I can't give you a written yet. The Maxwell, extremely sure. The Epstein, pretty sure. And this whole thing could be the case, and that's why Trump is so scared of it. That's a propeller plane, and it's likely a military transport or something. Commercial airliners don't fly over Israel. They come in off the water and land in Ben Gurion Airport. They don't go flying around Israel like they do in America. They do run flights from Ben Gurion down to Eilat, but they're very few, maybe 2 or 3 a day. And there could have been some commercial flight, but I think it was probably military. I got to find the earthquakes, and then we'll go on to some other nutty, crazy news that's going on. Oh, I know where I put them. Okay. India had a 6.2 earthquake. Indonesia had a 6.5. And Saudi Arabia had a 4.4. All in the same day. Isn't that interesting? The Thai army says that Changbak erupts into fighting again on Tuesday. That's today. Tuesday in the morning, their time. Despite the ceasefire. This is like I told you, ceasefires don't work. Not in these days. And there's a bunch of people that are doing spiritual warfare, aren't they? I wonder who they might be. I don't wonder very hard. We know it's us. Okay. All right, this is the next lunatic asylum. news. Netanyahu, the garbage bucket of Israel, the worst leader Israel ever had, including King Saul, says that they're going to give Hamas and Gaza another chance for a ceasefire. And if they refuse, Israel is going to begin the annexation of Gaza, starting with a buffer zone that would be on Gaza's eastern border with Israel, probably all 25 miles. I'm thinking 1.5 miles in, a mile in, a mile and a half in, not that, but it's 25 miles because it's all 25 miles. And then in the northern part by Ashkelon over there, they're going to do another buffer zone over there. That's not going to stop missiles or rockets. To stop missiles and rockets, you got to annex the whole joint because they could go, there's no place in Gaza that the missiles and rockets can't traverse out of. So to hit Israel, so that would stop attacks, invasion by ground, or they came by paraglider. It wouldn't necessarily stop that. It wouldn't stop motorcycles. It would stop some of it, It would probably interfere greatly with the launching of balloons that cause fires and have explosives in them, and they send balloons over with toys like dolls and figures in the balloon, and they're booby-trapped to explosives, and they want children to go pick the toy up, and when they pick the toy up, it triggers the fuse and blows their arms and legs off or something. You don't hear that, do you? How many times have they done that to us? Oh, in the hundreds, I guess. Plus incendiary balloons that come over. So if they're a mile and a half inside Gaza, that's the closest they could launch the balloon. It could have a problem if do you think these guys have altimeters and no, what's an altimeter? Is altitude. Hydrometer? No, that's the moisture. Well, they're not going to be able to measure wind speed and direct. I forgot what the name of the instrument is that measures wind speed. I'm in Israel all these years, and I never used that word in years and years and years. So I don't remember the word. But they're not going to measure the wind direction and the wind speed. They're going to, with an instrument, they're going to go hold their finger up, and try to punt. So if they start sending these things up, it very likely they would land inside Gaza. And they don't want that to happen, because if the kids in Gaza start getting blown up, they look like the idiots they really are. So they would stop that, and they're not doing that since October 7th. It was when we weren't in war mode with them, they would do that. So that would be the initial annexation. Now, we need to discuss, what does annexation mean? Well, annexation would mean it becomes part of Israel, and it's not under military law, it's under Israeli civilian law. How would that matter? Well, if they just annex 1.5 miles, I don't think it matters. But if they start annexing North Gaza, which would be the next step, so going down like from the north of Gaza, Ashkelon area, they might drop down 5 or 8 miles or 10 miles and say they annex it. Well, now they're under civilian law there. So that means anybody with an illegal, all the guns would not be registered to Israel. So there would be a notice given to them that they have to turn in their guns, or they could get a few years in jail. Would they turn in their guns? Undoubtedly, some of the civilians and others would turn in their guns. Then what? Many would not turn in their guns, at least half, okay? So anytime there was an incident and the police went into their house and they saw the gun, they would haul them off and put them in jail. Maybe. Now, in Israel, the Arabs are supposedly have tens of thousands of guns that are illegal, and Netanyahu doesn't do anything about it. I tell you more times than I can even remember, Netanyahu is a living, breathing piece of garbage. He's a man. He's a transsexual individual with a heart after Satan's heart. He's a black-hearted piece of crap that serves the unclean spirits, and he's the worst thing in terms of prime ministers I ever saw or heard of in Israel. He's so bad, okay? So bad. Now, I wasn't around for some of them. Some of them could have been pretty bad too, but this guy is horrible. And the people keep voting him in because they like the corruption. They like what they call protexia. You know, they like being able to pay off somebody and go to court and see the judge throw their case. They like to get promoted at a job in an electric company or some big government contractor or some municipality and get a nice promotion in, some job the government controls the company that they're completely unqualified for because it protects you. It's corruption. It ruins the country. But these people relish it. These people fight with each other. The neighbors, they just attack each other. It didn't used to be that way 30, 35 years ago, but it is now. They hate each other. They fight with each other like cats and dogs. It's so bad. It's so bad. They're so nasty to each other. And they really hate Anglos. Anglos are people that came here from like Canada or America, England. They'll call French people Anglos, German people Anglos, Australian or Anglos, New Zealanders would be Anglos. They wouldn't call Spain or Portugal Anglos. Italy, I don't know if they call them Anglos or not. I don't know. The word Anglo means speaking English, So Netanyahu seems to have instilled a resentment in the people towards speaking English. Not Arabic, not Russian so much, although some, but English. The English people come here and there's ones that speak English and they normally have a good education and they have a skill level, and the Israelis hate that. So the Israelis love protexia. They can't understand. It destroys the country. It makes the people evil and more mean towards each other because they use the protexia against each other. It's the sickest, stupidest thing I ever heard of, yet they all love it. And they relish it, and they love Netanyahu because of they can work the political system through him. I knew a guy that was building houses, and he had some blueprints that had to be approved, right? So he's sitting there waiting in a crowded room, waiting and waiting and waiting, and then some Arab guy walks in, doesn't wait. The guy they're waiting to talk to takes the Arab right in front of everybody else and apparently approves his plans, and the Arab leaves. That's protexia. That's Netanyahu. That's really why they vote this idiot in. Yep. And other people do. He corrupts with anybody that'll keep him in office. He does gross political favors like the ultra-Orthodox, keep them out of the draft, have the people of Israel support them while they don't work or go in the military. It's so stupid. The people here don't know their left hand from their right hand. That's what the Lord told me decades ago when I first came here. He said they don't know their left hand from their right hand, and I think they've gotten worse. And 2/3 get cut off. So many Satan bots here, it's like you never saw that many. I mean, Satan has just infiltrated this country like crazy. And he has decided clearly to get rid of Israel, Satan and the unclean spirits. And Trump is in the way of this. There's a big dispute in the unclean spirit realm over this, apparently. And you got the United States, which is the whore. The whore is that great city. It's Washington, D.C. That's the whore. And the last verse in Revelation 17, there's no literal whore. Okay? The whore rides on the beast, which is the beast. So the beast is sick and tired of the whore and burns her and eats her flesh, which gets rid of her. And that's what you're seeing beginning now. Satan has been petrified to have any wars in these times because he sees where we're at. He sees the signs. The people in the churches don't, but he does. And he doesn't want any wars because he's afraid of outcomes. His power is people, the nations, the corporations, the governments, the false religions. Those three things are responsible for all the problems in the world. Not all, but most of them. Practically all of them. So we destroy the works of the devil, which are what? The governments, the corporations, and the false religions. That's how he rules them. He uses the people like proxies, like Trump uses Ukraine, so he could hide behind the people, and but the people got no weapons like we do. It appears the Muslims are Satan's chosen people because they're the only religion that wants to go out and kill get rid of Israel and kill the Jews, and that's what he wants right now. He's scared. So he's moving. He doesn't want any wars, but he doesn't get what he wants. We bind him from getting what he wants, but he wants no wars except everybody should go kill Israel. And the United States meddles with that, messes it up for him. So the United States is going to go. And the unclean spirits got Trump running around, peace here, peace there, peace in Ukraine, ceasefire, peace with Cambodia and Taiwan, peace with Pakistan and India. That's sort of holding up in a way, isn't it? Peace between Gaza and Israel, peace between everybody in Iran, peace here, peace there, but what about Greenland? How's he doing with getting Greenland? Oh, that's not working. How's he doing with Mexico and Canada becoming states? Oh, gee, that's not working either. He's talking about firing the Federal Reserve Board chairman. I believe the Supreme Court said that he can't do that. That tells me Trump is worried about the cheap dollar. He doesn't want the dollar down that low anymore. I don't know if he ever wanted it down low. I think he wants the dollar back high. But if he fires the Federal Reserve chairman, the guy's not going to leave his post. He's going to tell Trump, you don't have the authority to fire me. I reject your firing. And then what's Trump going to do? Kill him? No. Trump's going to try to go to court and have him removed or send marshals in or something like that. And that'll cause the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board to go to the courts and get that blocked. So, do you think this annexing Gaza land is going to bring the siege in Israel, as in Zechariah 12, on faster and more mightily? 100%. Do you think that Gaza is going to go into a ceasefire with Israel when they just had the head of Gaza just turned around and said it's pointless to continue negotiations? No. Why is Netanyahu doing this? He wants the hostages back. "20 hostages that are alive." Why does Hamas not want to give the hostages back? Because they know that if they do, Israel's going to just swarm them and wipe them out. So they're not doing anything. Even Trump got mad at them. Annexing the land in Gaza is a great idea if you want the Arab nations to rise up and destroy Israel so you get rid of it. Think about that. The way to get them would have been to close at very early on. Let's say the attack happened October 7th, say November 1st or November 20th, when we had very good control, someplace around there. You kill the internet, you kill the electricity, you kill the water, okay? You don't let anything in and out, and there's no aid. And you wait. How long would you have to wait? Maybe a week maximum. Probably less, probably half a week. Then you tell Hamas they could go sit in the tunnels and die, or they could come out and go to another country and live. Stuff like that. Nope, the nations didn't want to hear of that. Netanyahu went and took water pumps, big things the size of an SUV, and started bringing water up out of the ocean and putting it in the tunnels, and they started screaming, "Oh no, that's an ecological problem. You're going to ruin the land," So that had to stop. See, the nations don't want this to stop. That's why Jeremiah 30 verse 11 happens. God's going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into. It's also in Jeremiah 46 verse 28. Same thing. He's going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into. He's not going to destroy the people. You see, you can't scatter Israelites into people. How does that work? It doesn't. It's the heathen nations that are going to get it. And that's going to happen very soon. And I'm going to show you when I think that'll happen today. So, what's the relevance? Okay, so Netanyahu is going to grab a 1 mile or half a mile or 1.5 mile buffer zone. So what? So what? Gaza will just think we'll get it back. They're going to ignore that. Then if he goes and grabs North Gaza, like say 5 miles down, there'll be more blow up, and that's no way to get an end to this. That's not ending anything. They're going to ignore it. And this is the idiocy of Netanyahu and Trump. Now, Trump approved this, or Netanyahu wouldn't do it. Remember, Netanyahu's just the prime minister in Israel, the most powerful elected figure in Israel. But Trump has been crowned emperor by Netanyahu. He seems to be the supreme leader of Israel. If Netanyahu wasn't listening to Trump, America would turn against Israel, and we haven't been seeing that. So that means he's completely submissive to Trump. So that's all that's going to happen. They might step up some bombings, but rest assured, Netanyahu's not going to do anything to end the war quickly and win it, and he just won't. He's got to keep the wars going to stay out of jail. Now the talks about the hungry and starvation in Gaza. Trump said there are hungry people in Gaza. Well, let's break this down. The Gazans attack the shipments of food coming in and try to grab all they can. Why? They sell it. Why do people buy it if they all have enough food? Well, obviously they don't. So there is some hunger going on. Do I think there's anything resembling starvation and things like that going on in Gaza? No, not at all. Do I think the Israeli government and the military are trying to make food shortages and hungry people and starvation in Gaza? No. Do I think Hamas is doing this? 100%. Do I think there's enough food going in so that people would be able to meet at least the minimum requirements for eating according to doctors, calories and stuff like that? Yes. Yes, I do. It's Hamas monkeying with the shipments and stealing it. This is where the trouble is. This is where it's coming from. It's not the Israeli government. They're not doing it. I know these people. They don't do junk like that. They're not looking. They can't keep it a secret, and they're not looking to do that now. I mean, we could talk about if that's a good ploy, but that's not a tactic they're attempting to use at all. The opposite. They want to try to get the food in. American companies that Trump put in were getting shot up. They couldn't keep Hamas from messing with the food supply, from stealing it and stuff like that. And, neither can Israel. So who can? What can? I don't know. I don't know if you can, how you can. So I don't know. So they're trying to come up with some new plans for the food and Hamas. Now, the starving children and stuff like that, that's bogus. That's bogus. They could be people that are not able to get enough, like elderly people, young people. They're not able to, handicapped people. They're not able to get enough stuff. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but they're going to up that. So how's that going to play out? Well, they're going to just increase it. And is it a problem that can be fixed? 100%. But you're going to have to bear down on Hamas. You're going to have military escorts, in terms of dozens of military, to escort the aid packages, and we're going to watch that. Can they accomplish the food? Yeah. Will they? Yeah. Will it work? Yeah. Yeah, they're going to get that. Don't worry about that. That'll happen. It might be a collection of things. What they might resort to is a different model. Okay, let me explain. Um, they set up, a place where you got to go every day or every 2 days and collect your food and then go to a checkout so nobody could walk out of there with, a large amount of food. And they got to have armed guards there to control it. They could have restaurants open up where the people can go sit down and have a meal. Anybody just walks in, sits down, and has a meal. Your meal is going to be humanitarian aid predominantly, and your meal is free. And what's Hamas going to do? Well, they have to put, if it's a restaurant that could hold 300, 400 people, 500 people, they're going to have to put 20 soldiers in there with rifles. And everybody that goes in is going to get patted down, so they got no bombs, no pistols, no rifles inside the place, and they could structure it as a tent initially. So they'll solve this, but they're not going to solve the end of the fighting. They're not going to solve the getting the hostages back. That's a problem. Now, Hamas is blaming Egypt for this so-called starvation, which really isn't starvation. There might be some people that would like to have more food than they could get. So the word would be hungry. Because the nature of the distribution is so stupid and erratic, and people are stealing it and hoarding it, and they might not be able to get it. I don't know. So, but starving, I don't believe so. This annexing is not going to stop Hamas. They don't care. To them, it's just paperwork. If Israel goes and annexes, 5-mile sections of Gaza in terms of north to south that go all the way across east to west, Hamas is going to ignore it. And a lot of the Arabs are going to ignore it. They're going to say, we don't recognize the annexation. So the head of Hamas is saying Egypt's to blame because Egypt's not opening the border between Rafah. And Egypt's saying, we're not closing our border. That's not entirely true. It is true. They are closing it. And Israel's closing it on the Israel side. So they're getting Egypt to blame Israel, and that's creating more tensions for Israel. So that's a victory for Gaza. They know Egypt's not doing it, but they also know Egypt doesn't want the Gazans leaving Gaza and entering in Egypt because they don't know what they're going to do with them. And they don't want them there. They don't trust them. They're likely to join the Muslim Brotherhood and overthrow the people that run Syria, Sisi. And so Sisi's worried, and the Muslim Brotherhood is looking to give Sisi a bruising and get rid of him and take over. And the Muslim Brotherhood is Gaza or Hezbollah, same thing. Or the Houthies. So what do they want to do? They want to storm in through the Rafah crossing and help Gaza. Would the Houthies want to work their way up to Egypt, like 200,000 or 100,000, and come in with them? Yeah. Would the Egyptian government welcome the Houthies? Heck no, they're scared of them. They don't want them in the country because they'll join the Muslim Brotherhood and overthrow them. So that's got very iffy implications. They might have to go in through a different country. They could go in through Gaza, But that's not possible right now. So, look, Egypt got 100,000 plus soldiers with tanks and armor and artillery in the Sinai Peninsula. on the border with Israel, and of course under Gaza, which is not Israel these days, it's Gaza. So since Netanyahu and Trump are not all excited about that, and it's been going on for months, it could be that their initial reason for that was to make sure that nobody pushed the Gazans into Egypt because they don't want them. They don't want to hide no hair of them. Now, there was maybe dozens of them, or 100 or 200 or something, that snuck out a long time ago after the war started into Egypt by paying, they were saying, about $5,000 tariff to get in. Corrupt border guards, and they got in, and then I don't know what they did when they were inside Egypt, go on welfare or get a job. I don't know what they did. They didn't have documents. Maybe they just got out of Egypt and went someplace else. I don't know what they did. They probably had a plan, but that was probably to use Egypt to go to the Cairo airport with a passport from someplace and get the heck out of there somewhere, I guess. Well, there was a very small amount of people that did that. It maybe even wasn't 100 or 200. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't huge. Maybe it was 300 or 400, but it wasn't. You're dealing with over 2 million people, so it was no significant number. As far as I can remember, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So what are they trying to come up with? Well, Hamas is turning against Egypt, and they want the Muslim Brotherhood to turn against Sisi, the leader of Egypt, who's a Muslim but half Jewish, get rid of him and do something for Gaza, like break down, make the Rafah crossing open. Why? So they could get food? No. So they could get missiles and rockets in and keep attacking Israel. That's what they want. That's what they want it open for. Look, a Palestinian state in Gaza, what would it look like if they had a real full-blown Palestinian state? Israel wouldn't allow to be going in there, and Israel would probably block them from coming into Israel. They would very rapidly build an airport, and Iran would help them, as would probably Jordan and other countries, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Iran, Kuwait would help, Qatar would help, Oman would help, a lot of them would help. Turkey would probably join in, and they'd build them an airport. And then Iran and whoever wants to fly weapons in, missiles and rockets, they can. Then they would build them a pier, and they could bring ships in and do whatever they want with the ships. And that would be in the first few months. Okay? Okay, thinking here. Let's see. What are we going to do with this? So, Egypt's in a bad way right now. Okay? And they got to worry about the Muslim Brotherhood that would just love to take control over Egypt. And this guy is stirring up the Muslim Brotherhood, the mosques are stirring the pot, and this is in Egypt, and they're stirring up the military in Egypt. And they want Egypt to come help Gaza and basically shove Israel out and all this kind of stuff. You know. Do I think it'll go somewhere? Yeah, Egypt's going to turn against Israel, sure. I don't have any problem with that. Okay, that's prophecy. I believe that's something we should expect. So they had a meeting about this, and you know, annexing the Gaza Strip is sitting very well with Ben Gvir and Smotrich, so they're going to hang into the coalition with Netanyahu, while the Orthodox, the ultra-Orthodox, all they care about is keeping their people out of the draft, and that hasn't come to pass. So they're kind of finished with Netanyahu, and if Netanyahu loses the ultra-Orthodox as well, he loses the right wing as well, that's the end of him. So he can maybe survive if he has Smotrich and Ben Gvir hang in there with him, you know. So are the people in America going to wake up? No. Are they going to get scared and confused and bewildered? Yeah. Are they going to put that together with the Bible and figure out they're the daughter of Babylon? No, I don't think so. The true believers know that, but the church world doesn't believe that. So when you look at all this stuff and you look at all the signs and the wonders and the birth pangs, guys, you get there. Now, we're going to go through some prophetic scriptures in a moment, but let me go into the live stream and see how we're doing. Yeah, please press the like button, guys. Someone asked us to pray for God's mercy and restoration on the family. Well, we can try that. For my Heavenly Father, we have a prayer request for Omokuru Rachel, for mercy and restoration of the family to health and wholeness. And that's B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. We got a prayer request from Joyce Moraboli. Joyce Moraboli, pray. So, my Heavenly Father, there's a prayer request from Joyce Moraboli for a prayer for the family's instant financial breakthrough. I will pray it because it's been requested, and B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with me, people. Oh, I've got several mods. I'm good, thank you. Yeshua was healing all who came and asked them. So I do the same thing. If you come and ask, I'll do it. If you ask for, an unbiblical prayer, burn up my, my neighbors, they play the stereo too loud, I don't think I would put that out. But, stuff that's not anti-biblical, I would put out. I'm not God. It's not for me to, decide, on censoring prayers and things like that. we've prayed for animals and pets here for years, and we've had very good results. And a lot of people would think that's crazy, but it, we've had great results. One of the things I learned from this with the passing of my two little dogs, Chief and Yapa, was that they can't live forever, and they've been programmed or made by God to have short lifespans. And I remember about a year or so before Yafa passed, she wasn't really having periods. They were just the littlest of anything at all. And I really knew she was going, and she didn't have that many years on her. She had maybe 6 or 7 years. She didn't live long. I don't know. Chief lived long. Chief could have been 13 or something. I don't know. But, I don't know. With having dogs, the worst part about having dogs is, and it could apply to cats too, is you get so attached to them. And it's so horrible when they pass. It's so horrible. It almost makes me not want to have them anymore because that part of it is so bad. But when you remember the good years, when they were puppies and they were grown up and they were young and the fun you had, it's, but to me it hits me like a Mack truck when they go. It's just, and I had to give animals away in my past many years ago, and it still rips my heart. I had 2 Neapolitan Mastiffs, and circumstances were such I had to send them back to the breeder, and that wasn't killing them. But to this day, it still hurts me. It rips at me. I remember looking at the expressions when I had them at the freight office to put them on the plane in the cage, and they were looking at me like begging me not to do this. And to this day, and it's been over 30 years, to this day, it still bothers me that I had to do that. And they were going back to their first home. And they got there in one piece, and it was so hard. It's just hard for me. I had to give cats up. I tell you, maybe it's just not for me because I can't take it, maybe I can't take it, but I love having them. They're great companions, I don't have a lot to do with the parrots, but when I go outside, they all talk to me, I have a call sign. All the birds have a call sign. So I have 2 call signs. One is a certain whistle and the other one is, and when I go out there, they all give me my call sign, so they're greeting me, But they're hard for me to get close to. I had one of the birds I started getting close to a few years ago, and I started walking around with her on my shoulder like Long John Silver, Of course, the doors and the windows in the house are closed, so if she's decided she wanted to go start playing United Airlines and fly around, there's nowhere for her to go. You just got to wait till she got tired of flying, and, that's all. And she would sit there, and then she would want me to give her food or do something. She'd take her beak, which is pretty sharp and pointy, and take my earlobe and gently bite down on it enough to make me very uncomfortable so she could manipulate me. Oh, I didn't like that. Then another trick we had is she would land on my head with her talons. That's not fun. And her talons would go through my t-shirt and get into my skin. So I came to the conclusion that they weren't a lot of fun. We had other birds, and my wife and I would put them in the bed with us in the morning usually when we woke up, and they like to chew my bracelet. They all like that. They go over there and they chew the bracelet. And we let it go on because they get the silver in them, like a colloidal silver, And, you know, that's a lot of fun to have your bird, you know, sit there and concentrate on scratching your bracelet up as much as they can. And you want to make sure they don't get your watch, and you want to make sure they don't get your glasses because they don't differentiate too easily. And if you've got a laptop or a tablet there, they try to take pieces. Particularly, they love to pull the pieces of the keyboard out of a computer, you know, the K and the O and the L. Oh, yeah. So my wife gets very friendly and likes the birds. I can play with them, but I don't get that attached to them um, because I don't know how I can really relate to them in a way. You know, you don't go on walks with them. You don't take them out. They fly away, and they they forget to remember where they are, and they can't come back. They don't know what awaits them out there. You know, it's very difficult, you know, to get close to birds. Some people love them. You know, an elderly person that lives by themselves gets themselves like an African great parrot or something, right? Okay. And they are with that parrot all day, and they have a perch when they watch TV. The parrot's there. The parrot may get in their lap, climb on their shoulder, sit on the chair with them. Of course, they don't control their poop. So the parrot, when it has to go poop, it just poops. There's no house-breaking birds. So I don't know how the heck Long John Silver, the pirate, walked around with the parrot on his shoulder, because his whole coat would have been full of parrot droppings. See, that's Hollywood. It would seem that doesn't work. Also, the parrot might get stupid if you're in a ship at sea and fly away and get lost or hit a wind. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So, you know, then we had, because my wife runs the parrot rescue, and we had birds that would like to bite my shoes. And, you know, it's not my idea of a great pet. You know, I just can't relate to them, you know. That doesn't mean I don't like them and I don't kid around with them, but they're not my cup of tea. I really like cats, but my wife's allergic, and we can't have the cats with the dogs here. Our dogs are on the tough side, and they wouldn't, pretty tough side, although they're very good with kids and people. But with other animals, they're brutal. And they wouldn't put up with a cat. You know, they'd kill it. They would dedicate their life to killing the cat, in my opinion. And my wife's allergic, so we don't do it. But I like cats a lot. I have a lot of cats. I love Maine Coons, you know. They're, to me, the perfect cat. They're almost as strong as a dog. Not a big dog like a German Shepherd, but a not so big dog. They got a lot of strength. And they're big. You know, they can go 15, 16 pounds. And they're really nice. They're nice with everybody in the family, babies and children and old people. And they're really, they're calm. They're very nice cats. They really are. I would really like to have some, but can't. Okay, I don't want to see cats and dogs have a war. A Maine Coon could hurt a dog. They're really strong, and you know, when you're talking cats, it's different than a dog. And you're talking, say, a 15, 16 pound cat fighting. It's not like a regular 6 or 8 pound street cat. This is a whole other animal. It's not like an ocelot either, but it's, you know, an ocelot could take out a dog easily. They're so fast. But anyway, let's get back. So Netanyahu is definitely going to start annexing Gaza. I can't imagine any kind of ceasefire. Okay, let's play this in another level so you get it. Hamas isn't going to sit there and say, oh, every time Netanyahu and Trump say they're going to annex Gaza, we're going to do everything they want. So, yeah, we'll give them the hostages back. And then the next thing they're going to tell us is demilitarize or leave Gaza or we're going to annex Gaza. So we're not going to give them a tool over us. So you see how it works? Trump has no concept of what I just told you, as far as I could tell. And Netanyahu does. So Netanyahu knows that it's not going to work with Gaza, that, he's going to go through the annexing, and is that going to bring on Zechariah 12? I cannot imagine how it would not bring on Zechariah 12. Is what's going on with Egypt and Hamas going to bring on Zechariah 12? Yes. Is Hamas calling for the Arabs to gather on Israel's border going to bring on Zechariah 12? Yes. Is the Houthies saying the countries better let us pass through so we could go to Palestine, which is Israel? Not Gaza. Gaza's Gaza to them. Palestine is Israel. They're not coming over here to play cards with us, okay? Or tell us how much they love us. They're coming over here to murder, loot, plunge, pillage, rape, burn, They said, if you don't let us pass through your countries, we're going to force our way through. Is that going to bring on Zechariah 12 siege against Israel? You bet. Is there anything I know that's going to also bring it on? Sure. Want me to spill it out for you? Why not? Syria. That guy hates us. We blew up all of Bashar's weapons. We're exposing his genocide. We're occupying the Syrian side of the Golan Heights. We're occupying southwest Syria. We're probably going to occupy more. We want to support the Kurds. We want to support the Druze. He hates the Druze. We're not supporting the Alawites because that was Bashar Assad's people and they hated us. So he wants to get rid of us. Is he going to help? Of course he will. He's on our border. Jordan's been threatening us many times. Jordan and Egypt are similar problems. Similar, not the same. Jordan has 9 to 11 million radical Sunnis that would love to join with Syria and kill Israel. Okay? So when the time comes, they're going to push into the West Bank through Jordan. And he's afraid of them, just like Sisi in Egypt is afraid of the Muslim Brotherhood. And Lebanon's afraid of the Hezbollah, and they'll go gather on the border there. Will Turkey get involved with this? Probably somehow, some way, some shape or form. And what about Iran? Oh, Iran will be ramrodding this. They probably already are. Engineering it, working it. They're already starting to open up the entrances, particularly to the FODOR, F-O-D-O-R, nuclear plant, so they could get back in there and repair it and get working again. That seems to be, like I told you, the only nuclear plant that got really damaged. And it was the ductwork and the entrances that they were able to hit, that's all. So they would, definitely going to get involved. And what about Iraq? Well, they are not on our border, but they have a large amount of Iranian-backed militias that have come from Iraq, and they've also come from Syria to run away from the Syrian government. But the radicals of Iran are going to have to get friendly with the Syrian guy, I think. And they'll have a common interest. But he might not want them in Syria because he's afraid of them. But he may not be long for this world. I don't know. But he's definitely going to be involved. And so will Saudi Arabia. So who's not going to be involved? Well, we're not hearing from Sudan and South Sudan and Djibouti and Somalia and Ethiopia and Kenya and what's the other one? Uganda. We're not hearing about that yet. They might just come up, but we're not hearing much about that. Will Russia get involved? Maybe, I don't know. China, I don't know. I'm not expecting too much, no. Will Iran put troops in to help? Yeah, Iran just drops down by land into Iraq, and then from Iraq it goes to another country, particularly Syria, if they're still around. They may or may not do that. What is Egypt worried about with Israel right now? Egypt's worried if they get into a spat with Israel, their 100,000 soldiers at the border are going to get attacked by artillery heavily and bombs and rockets fired from aircraft and helicopters. And I do not think Egypt has that much in terms of air defense systems, although they have picked up some stuff from China along with missiles. So they might be able to hit Tel Aviv and Jerusalem with missiles. I would think that they probably have a small, very small amount, maybe a dozen or 2 dozen, probably closer to 10 or 12, if that many. And their air defense systems would be better than what they had before, but I don't think they've got anything that's going to take out an F-35. The other problem they have is the flight time from Israel into Egypt is not like it is to Iran. So when you're dealing with flight times to Iran has friends and associates, that are going to tell them, well, the Israeli jets are headed your way, so they get a good warning in hours. Egypt has, maybe less than 5 minutes. How do you mobilize? They might get 2.5, 3 minutes warning. What do? Well, they could do what Israel does, blow all the sirens in Egypt and send people into the bomb shelters. Oh, golly gee, we got a problem. Egypt doesn't have bomb shelters. Oh, so are they going to blow the sirens? Well, they probably don't even have sirens, but they might. They can blow them. What good's it going to do? What are the people going to do? Hide under the camels or run into a store with big glass windows? What are they going to do? One thing that always troubled me is why didn't Israel build 1,000 missiles and put them in the south of Israel near Gaza, and every time Gaza shot 25 missiles, shoot 25 missiles back into Gaza, the heck where they land, just like Gaza does. Do you think that Hamas would have kept attacking Israel if we were doing that to them? I don't. They launched 200 or 300. You launched 200 or 300. Well, they had Katyushas. They were junk. They just do launch versus launch. Do the same with Hezbollah. What would that have done? Well, you have the same disregard that they do for hitting civilians. That's war. Okay, so the civilians in Lebanon would be screaming at Hezbollah. They'd be spitting at them in the streets. They'd be trying to kill them. You got the idea? See, Netanyahu is a piece of garbage. Okay? He doesn't do the right thing. The people here don't know it. They think they know everything there is to know. They don't. They don't know the Bible. They don't know the prophecy. They don't understand a lot of things. If you don't understand true Bible and true Bible prophecy, you're in the dark, and they're in the dark, just as 99.9% of the people in the world are in the dark right now. So they don't know what's going on. So, yeah, you're going to see the siege coming quick. Now, let's try to look at timing on Day of Vengeance and what happens and stuff like that. I'll take a quick look at the live stream, and we're going to go through some scriptures. notes. I got them in there. Let's go to Psalm. No, not yet. I want to go to. Where did I want to go? Put that in my notes. Oh, there it is. Okay. Isaiah 34. And I've covered this a few weeks ago. It's pretty revealing. Verse 1, Isaiah 34. Come near, you heathen. They say nations. The word is goyim. It means heathen, those without God. To hear and... Now those that are with a false god who's not a god is a heathen. You got that? Okay. An atheist is a heathen. Okay. Come near, you nations, you heathen, to hear and hearken, you people. Now, the word for people is leom. Could mean a nation. Let's see what Strong's does with this. Yeah, it could mean a nation, a community. Okay, that would be a better word for nation, leom, than goyim, you know. But these translators in all the English just copy each other, and they don't know beans about Hebrew, or they don't want to. They don't want to really give you the meaning. It's probably that. Come near, you goyim, to hear and hearken, you nations. I think that would be the better word. Let the earth, let the land hear, and all that is therein. Now it says the world. See, now this word for the world, Tabel, is Strong's number 8398, and it would mean inhabited, but it would inhabited land, you know, I guess it would mean, so it would probably not mean the oceans or something like that, where the world would have a connotation of meaning the oceans too, wouldn't it? But this is, see, they don't translate, right? The oceans are not inhabited per se, so it would be the inhabited earth. And all things that come forth of it. And the word for things is the whole of it. Yeah, all right, we'll move off that. Verse 2. Now, this is important. For the indignation, that's a complicated word that they put in there to confuse people. It's the anger or the fury. Ketzef. It's wrath or anger, you know. So the wrath of Jehovah is upon all heathen. It says goyim. And his fury, that's a different word. 2534 is the Strong's number. Hama. Like a burning rage, okay? It's a real serious rage, okay? Fury, it could go with, I suppose, upon all their armies. So his serious fury, burning rage, is upon all their armies. And what's the word for army? Sabah. It's the same word as Hoth. Whoops, get an iPad. All right, let me get back where I was. Armies. I want to look at what Strong's does with this word in English. Yeah, armies is a pretty good way of dealing with that. Okay, armies. So, this rotten thing moved the chapter on me. I tell you, this thing wastes so much of my time. It's scary. No, I went up 2 chapters. Let me get it back. This is the time waster of my life, this device. Okay, I gotta go the long way. No, I got it. Okay, verse 2. For the anger of Jehovah is upon all heathen, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 words for one in Hebrew. The word here is Strong's number 2763, charam. Ban, destroy, destruction. I want to see what Strong's does with this. Wait, did I pass Strong's? I don't think so. No. Yeah, it's a destroy is a reasonably decent way of using of translating that. It has utterly destroyed. Yeah, I would say destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Again, they're putting a lot of words in here. Natan, he puts or sets. And then it says slaughter, which is tabach. Yeah. So they get the point across. So he gets rid of all the armies. When does he do this? That's what we're going to try to figure out of this. Okay? And that could be why. If he says he gets rid of, let's see what he says. For the indignation of Jehovah is upon all the heathen, and his fury upon all their armies. But it doesn't say their armies. It says call, which means all, A-L-L. His fury upon all armies. He hath destroyed them, hath delivered them to the slaughter. Does that include the Israeli army? I don't think so, because then he would be killing the Israelis just because they're in the army. I don't know about that one. I don't know. It doesn't make me think that's the case, but it could be. It very well could be. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Sounding more and more like it's not going to include the Israeli army. That's how I'm starting to lean towards this. And in verse 4, Isaiah 34:4, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved. And that's like the army, I guess. Let's see, 56:35, Sabbat. We're back to the army again. The host of heaven shall be dissolved. decay away. And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their host shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as falling fig from the fig tree. Well, we're seeing the star. You could say this is the stars falling like the figs from a fig tree, but are we seeing the sun going black, going dark, and the moon going dark here? We're not. Is this the new heavens and the new earth that I believe happens when we see Yeshua appear in the clouds? Yes, I think that's what we're getting here. So what's the sky going to look like then? You got me, I have no idea. Is it going to be beautiful? I would think super beautiful, but I don't know more than that. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, that's Edom, that's Yemen, and upon the people of my curse through judgment, that's Edom. We know Edom's going to get it, Yemen. The sword of Jehovah is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams, for Jehovah hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, Yemen, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, Yemen. Edom is Yemen. So this is kind of like allegorical, like this, because it's a sacrifice. In Gog and Magog, there's a sacrifice too. You know, he talks about that in Ezekiel 38:39. It makes a feast for them or something like that, sacrificial. But anyway, it's made for, you know, so that's where you get the fatness and the kidney and the lamb and the goats. It's allegorical because it's like a fatness. He's considering them, the bad ones, the people, as goats and lambs. Okay? That's where it's coming from. Isaiah 34:7. And the unicorns shall come down with them. And some people think the rhinoceros, the rhino, is a unicorn because it's got that horn. Some of them have a big one and they got a little one. And those things are terribly dangerous. They attack lions and stuff, you know. They'll attack hyenas, they'll attack lions, they'll attack anything. And they charge it, and what are they? They weigh a ton or 2 tons or something like that. If the thing just runs into a lion, it's probably going to kill it or cripple it. I mean, the big lions are 450 pounds. This sucker could be 2,500 pounds or 2,000 pounds. He plows into it. Imagine you weigh 150 and a 600-pound person charges into you and hits you like a football player. Well, you're going to be busted up. So they try to get an animal with that big horn, which is probably, 12, 18 inches. It's be brutal to get it, Some of them have a big horn and a little horn. I don't get all that, but okay. So, and the unicorns shall come down with them, and the bullock with the bulls, and their lands shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. So the land of Yemen is going to be soaked with blood. Happy with them for month after month after month after month, shooting missiles and rockets into Israel, enjoying making millions of Israelis go into the bomb shelter. Okay, that's the long and the short and the tall of this. And also trying to put the siege on Israel by attacking shipping, if it has any relationship to Israel, Who are they? Who put them in charge? You see what I'm saying? For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance. There you go. and the year of recompenses now for the controversy of Zion. The fighting over Zion is what the controversy means, and that's Yemen, Edom, Iran, all of them. Does it have anything to do with Cambodia and Thailand fighting each other? No, I don't think so. Does it have anything to do with Ukraine and Russia killing each other? No, I don't think so. Or there may be something there that I'm not aware of, but I don't think so. And maybe Ukraine's lost tribes or something. I don't know. They should do pretty good against Russia when they shouldn't be doing that good against Russia. But I have no idea one way or the other. I'm just, maybe, who knows? But it's like a who knows. It's not like I think this is the case. I have no reason to lead me there. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone. Well, sounds like fire and brimstone, but and the land thereof shall become burning pitch, tar. It shall not be quenched night nor day. So it's going to be like some not medieval, like some dinosaur Hollywood creation where the tar pits are on fire and stuff like that. You know? It shall not be quenched day or night or day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. I think that word is olam. Yeah, it is. From generation to generation it shall be waste, none shall pass through it forever and ever. So that's going to be a disaster area. But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it, they'll live there. The owl also, and the raven shall dwell in it. Ravens are kind of nice. And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there. They shall call. So maybe they're calling them to come attack Israel, but they're not there anymore. But none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. So maybe Yemen gets it before they have a chance to go after Israel. See what I'm saying here now? And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof. I guess that's your military bases. And it shall be an habitation of dragons and a court for owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island. I don't know what the island is. Let's check the word. 338. No, it's a howling beast. It's some kind of beast. So they'll meet with not with the island. The wild beasts of the island. It's not the wild beasts of the island. It's the wild beast. It's some kind of beast, some critter. And the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there. and find for herself a place of rest. So the animals will have a good time there. That's fine. It's okay with me. There shall, you see, this is a testimony to the heathen and the would-be heathen in the future, what happens when you go against God. But they'll still try it in Gog and Magog, won't they? There shall the great owl make her nest, and lay and hatch, and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures also be gathered, every one with her mate. Seek you out of the book of Jehovah and read. No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate, for my mouth it has commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. It comes, it all comes, and he hath cast the lot for them, and his hand hath divided it unto them by line. They shall possess it forever. From generation to generation shall they dwell therein. All right, so that was an interesting discourse, I think. I'll bounce into the live stream quickly. Well, I'm in Israel, India. Okay. Let me get back into some other scriptures I wanted to cover. Psalm 37, several verses here. First verse is 20. Psalm 37, verse 20. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Jehovah shall be as the fat of lambs. Again, it's a kind of allegorical reference to a sacrifice. They shall consume into smoke, burned up. Shall they consume away? They get burned up. Okay. Now, that gives us an idea how they're going to go. Fire, 2 witnesses or otherwise. Okay. Now we go to 28 and 29. The verses. 28, 29. For Jehovah loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, that's the land of Israel, and dwelleth therein forever. Never get run off the land again. Some people are going to get cut off from the land, but we don't leave it. Since 48, we never leave it. Wait on Jehovah and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land when the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see. I have seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he couldn't be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. Yep, the wicked are going to be cut off. It's hard for us to believe how many people are going to get cut off in the very immediate future, but quite a few. Okay. John 15 at the beginning. Went to 16. That's probably on me. Okay, John 15:1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman, takes care of the vineyard. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. That's the chastening of the Lord, the purging, that he only does to those he loves. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. So why do they run around screaming red heifer? Good question, right? Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can you, except you, wait, that's something wrong. Fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can you, it's broken English, except you abide in me. You have to abide in Yeshua, or nothing's going to happen. But you can't abide in the other Yeshua, you know. 2 Corinthians 11:4. They have another gospel, they have another Yeshua, another Jesus, they call it in the scripture, and another spirit. That don't work. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered. In other words, it gets old and shriveled up. But we got everlasting life on the way, they don't. And men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, now that could not only mean the lake of fire, it could mean they get burned up on earth to where they get cut off. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. And that's what we're taking advantage of, the keys to the kingdom, binding and loosing. Herein is my Father glorified, that you that you bear much fruit, so shall you be my disciples. As the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue you in my love. If you keep my commandments, that's the law, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. So the law is not, they'll say, oh no, the law is not the commandments. Well, then the 10 commandments would have to be one, right? And then you're supposed to hallow the Sabbath and keep it holy and do no work. Not change it to Sunday without any cause or reason or power or authority to do it. So the church is up the creek without a paddle, if you even take that argument. Matthew 3:10. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Therefore, every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. So, the couch potato prophecy people, they don't do offerings, they don't spread the gospel, they don't do anything, they just sit around saying, oh, look at all this knowledge I have, I am great, I am so cool. Where's their fruit? There ain't none. There ain't no fruit. What are you to do with them? Nothing. They're just going to be gone. So a lot of these people are going to be burned up. Some are going to get it by the sword. I guess we should, that's what I got for scripture. So guys, what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing every day now more and more signs of confirmations about the daughter of Babylon going and the Zechariah 12 siege coming. Now, is it a possibility that the daughter of Babylon goes first? Yeah, a possibility. It seems to have its own visitation. It's not necessarily the day of vengeance. I've often felt that it's not the day of vengeance for that. I'm going to take a break for a minute, and we'll continue with this and then do our spiritual warfare. Drive Satan crazy. Can't drive him crazy, he's already crazy. Don't expect people in America right now to say, oh, we must be the daughter of Babylon, we're going to be destroyed. Some people in the church world read the scriptures may start seeing it. I hope they do. But the people that don't read their Bible, they're not going to know what's going on. They're going to be concerned. They're going to be worried. They're going to be scared. New York is going to increase their police presence. They may go to overtime. They're going to want the people in Manhattan to feel safe. Police presence doesn't do much. What about Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens, and Staten Island? They can't do it all. They'll concentrate on Manhattan because it's tourist season. And they want the money. So maybe they won't hit New York. They hit Atlanta and they hit Reno. I mean, we could speculate. Now, they're all three substantial cities. Now, I don't know what else they might want to hit. I can't tell you. I would think they're going to do more gun attacks for a while because it's working. Why should they stop doing the gun attacks? I think they're sleeper agents. Why should they stop? What's Trump going to do? Not a darn thing. They can't stop this. The FBI has 16,000 FBI agents. If they have 450,000 FBI agents, they could probably make a pretty decent show of it, but they're not even close. These people would be in cells. The only thing they're going to know is the handler of their cell and maybe other people in their small cell. So they caught one guy. So the other people in the cell are probably dispersed. They had an escape route and they probably went to different parts of the United States. They'll use different identity papers, change their name, change their location, have a different handler. The handler will get lost. It might be very unlikely that they ever find these people. This is just basic spycraft. It's not ultra complicated. They'll know how they get communications, how they get instructions, how they store stuff. A lot of what happens is going to depend on how soon they successfully interrogate these people. if they want to interrogate the people, they're going to get information. It just depends on how they do it. But in America, what's going to happen is the guy's going to lawyer up, and they're going to question him, and he's not going to want to give up anything, and the lawyer's going to be watching to see if he's abused. And you know, if the feds take him and they get him in a situation away from the lawyers, you know, maybe they'll get somewhere. But they probably have to, you know, get into waterboarding him or drugging him, interrogating him under drugs or something like that. I don't know if they'll do it or not. If they do, how do they have a trial? Because this will get brought out at trial, and his confessions will be voided because of the beatings and the cruelty. They might get somewhere with them. I don't know. It could likely be that these people had no idea that other terrorists were going to be striking on the same day. They wouldn't be brought into that information. The handler wouldn't have that information. Oh, I'm sure they figured it out from the news, but, you know. They could continue with the shootings, they likely will. They don't have to. Okay, the other, like I said, the other approaches are using explosives, like I described to you earlier, and car ramming. You know, stabbing's a lousy way to do it, but that's another way. Multiple shooters, 2 or 3 on the ground in crowded areas. It could be malls. Look, if they go to the malls and they're jihadists and they know they're going to get killed and they just run around the malls shooting people, it's going to be horrific. They're probably going to take out 40, 50, 60 people. You know, Trump will go over there and have a memorandum, you know, memorial service, and, you know, after it's over and all this kind of stuff. And it'll create fear, and the people won't want to go to the malls. Right? Would you? If you hit 1 mall, no. You hit 2 malls, yeah. You hit 3 malls, nobody's going to the malls. In different cities. You hit 3 malls in different cities in close proximity to each other. It doesn't have to be the same day. It could be the same day. What's going to happen is there's going to be a high blood count, and the people are going to be afraid to go into the mall. Then what's going to happen? Well, the mall will put security guards in with metal detectors, and they'll try to stop people with guns. Well, what about all the gun permit people? It's got a paradox, you know. So all they got to do is make a counterfeit gun permit, which is usually a little plastic encased card with your picture on it. It's easy for sleeper agents to manufacture that stuff and, you know, confuse the security guard. And they get in with a pistol, and let's say they carry 4 clips, 15 in a clip plus 1 in, they got 75 rounds. Probably take out 25 people. Would you stop the economy? And you'd really hurt the economy, because people would, they would start ordering online, you know, Walmart, Amazon, other supermarkets that deliver, things like that. They would want deliveries. Or people would start going into the local stores instead of going to the mall, because, you know, you walk by the store, you look in the window, everything's normal, you walk in, you know. My habit when I was in America, because I was in law enforcement, whenever I would go into a bank, because seen too much, I would look in the bank before I walked in to make sure what I saw looked normal. If I saw people laying on the floor, I would quietly go back to the car, get in the car, drive 2 or 3 blocks, pull over, call the police, and very calmly explain to them my background and what I saw. Then I would probably have a lieutenant or a captain on the phone with me, and I would very calmly tell him what I saw and where I am and what I did if they want to come talk to me, and they would. And, you know, what they would probably do is wait for the jackasses to leave the bank because they don't want a hostage situation. And then, you know, roadblock them, shoot them, whatever, you know, depending on if you're dealing with an old boy sheriff, they fill him through a lead. If you were dealing with a more modern police department, they would roadblock them and try to peacefully take them. Just depends on who the heck the captain or the sheriff is, you know. So I would always look inside the bank before I went in. And I didn't like that kind of trouble, and I didn't like being in banks. Because they're working with the bank, okay, granted, I got a handgun. Granted, I got 13, 15 rounds in the handgun, something like that. Great. I got 2 or 3 bank robbers to deal with, and I'm going to start a gunfight with them in the bank. Well, if I saw them running around cracking people in the head and stuff like that, I would start a gunfight with them in the bank. If they got a shotgun and they hit you in the head with the butt, they could paralyze you. They could take your hearing away. They could take your eyesight away. They could ruin your brain. I would wait probably for one to get close to me and dispatch him and use his body to kill the others. Depending how big the jackass was. If he was 280 pounds, that's not going to work. If he's 175, when I was younger, that would work. But I would have made him incapacitated, you know, 2, 3 rounds. He wouldn't be resisting. And then you got to get the others. And then what would happen? They would either run out of the bank or they would get shot. I knew how to use guns rather well. Now, if the guy wasn't going to come close, now you got another problem. That guy's too good. You know, a stupid guy is going to come close to hit you and push you around, stuff like that. A smart bank robber is going to keep, you know, 6, 8 feet away from you, and if he gets nervous about you, he's going to shoot you. So, you know, it's an ugly thing. You know, normal bank robbers don't want any part of the people. They just, if you go sit down or you don't move, they're more than happy to leave you alone. They're not interested in you. They don't care about you. They want the cash and they want to get out. So you have an excellent chance of just standing still or sitting down on the floor. They want in and out 30, 60 seconds. They don't want to be there. You know, it was so bad in this community I lived in Florida that the banks had to hire off-duty cops and sheriff's deputies to stay in the bank all day long. That's how bad the robberies of the banks was. Did that stop it? Yeah, because even if it's just one cop, they know the guy is going to engage them. And they know he could shoot. And they know that if he took the job, he's probably capable of killing them. They wouldn't have wanted. It's one thing, you know, what's the judge going to put him in jail for? 2 years, 3 years, maybe 5 years, depending on priors, or if they hurt anybody. But it's another thing for the cop to kill you. You know, that's another story. So they don't like it. So, you know, you got to be careful. But if I was around now in America, which I'm not, I'm in Israel, and I start seeing this, I would be, right now, today, I would be very worried if I was in a big city. Now, is it likely they're not going to do big cities and they're going to go for cities of 100, 200,000? No. No. Because it's not going to create enough for them. And city with 100 or 200,000 doesn't have a lot of congestion points where there's a whole lot of civilian people walking around that you could hit. They're using cars, and they got adequate parking in these size cities and stuff like that. When you start hitting cities of 1 million, 2 million, you start getting the congestion and stuff like that. What are some places to go do shooting? Well, the least productive place to go would be a park. Okay. One of the, should I say this or not? I don't know. Yeah, what the heck. One of the most productive places to go is if you could get yourself in a hotel or an apartment or an office that faces into some type of ballpark or stadium where there's 200,000 people, 100,000, 70,000 watching a sporting event. And you could see in there and put your rifle in there and go to work. You're going to be able to take out a lot of people because the people aren't going to know what happened. By the time you get to 10 people, they probably still don't know what's going on. You're going to have a long run. And it's going to be very difficult for people to know where you shot from. You know, you have the window down, okay, and a shade down, and the window's cracked up in warm weather, and you're shooting out of that, and then you just do your shooting, you leave the rifle there, and walk out, and there's somebody downstairs with a car waiting for you, and you get in the car, and, you know, an hour or two later, you're in another state. An hour or two after that, or 3 or 4 hours, you're in another state, you're gone. The United States is a plethora of targets. Can they go into a hospital? The hospital in the United States is a problem because they got security or police with guns. So that's not an easy hit for them. Schools, you got school resource officers, cops, security guards with guns. Not an easy hit for them. The last thing they want is to have a gunfight. Supermarket, not a good place because it's got aisles, it's got cameras. And it got shoppers that carry guns. It's America. So now comes gunfights. They get wounded, they get killed. You know, a lot of supermarkets have an off-duty cop, a security guard. That's not a good area to hit. Bars and nightclubs. A lot of them are using metal detectors at the door. So how they're going to get in? That's not going to be that easy. That's more for a bomb. Restaurants. Big restaurants with a lot of people. Yeah. And that's easy for them to do. It's a productive place. And they can get a hostage situation going. And that gets them on TV, it brings publicity, and then they can execute hostages and really make things ugly and then kill themselves. Would they do it in a McDonald's or something like that? Yeah, they could. They could also use a more high-end restaurant where people are eating $50, $60 meals and then wearing suits and stuff like that. And it would be 2 or 3 go in there and just start executing people. Yeah, they could do that. Go into department stores, not a mall. Nah, too many aisles, separation, things to hide behind, cameras, too hard to control. Nah, I don't think they would go for that. It's not an easy. It's not easy. Office building can work. Depends on the office building and what's in the building. They'd have to case it real carefully. But there could be, a floor with 80 or 100 people working on a floor in little cubicles, and they could just run around mowing people down. Not a hard thing to do. Airport, unlikely. Too much heat for them at an airport. There's too many undercover people. There's too many law enforcement watching on cameras behind the scenes where they can't see them. It's too much issue at an airport. That's not a good idea. That's not good. Going to a movie theater, that could be, if the theater's packed, they could try something like that. Thinking. If they got shoulder-fired weapons, this I've said many times, they get near an airport. A lot of airports have a road that goes by the runways. San Francisco Airport does, for instance. San Jose Airport does. LaGuardia Airport in Queens does. The planes fly right over the cars. They just get a van or some kind of a truck or something like that, and they can shoot. You can't shoot a shoulder-fired rocket inside the confines of the vehicle. You're going to hurt yourself. You could stand up in an SUV with a sunroof and hold the shoulder-fired weapon so the blast goes back in space. You're over the roof of the car, so the rear of the missile launcher is going to blow all the force out in the air. It's not inside the car. So that would have the same net effect as you standing in an open field and shooting it. Nothing would happen. And they could aim at aircraft taking off and landing. The plane is so vulnerable as it's climbing, and as it's descending. When it's climbing, it's the most vulnerable, because as soon as the pilot starts to pull the landing gear up, that's it. When he's coming down and you hit him, his landing gear's down. He's trying to slow the plane down, so having the landing gear locked in place doesn't bother him, it helps him. It puts more drag on the plane, it slows it down. When he's taking off, he's climbing. He wants that landing gear up fast so he can climb faster. So he's very vulnerable, more so taking off than coming down. But even if the plane's on the runway, with the landing gear down and him sitting there waiting stationary, it's still a very deadly target, a very deadly thing, because if you hit it, you're going to hurt a lot of people. But he's not going to like that, because if you hit a plane taking off or landing, you're probably going to kill almost everybody on the plane. That's what the terrorist is going to try to do. So they just stop. These things got an easy range of a mile or two. Look, you could hit a plane with an anti-tank shoulder-fire launcher and take the plane out. You don't have to have it in one of these Stingers, but they probably have something like a Stinger also that's designed to take an aircraft down. So they just put a lock on the plane and fire, and the thing's going to go right into the plane. Now, El Al Airlines, the Israeli Airlines, has devices on the plane that stop that from happening, countermeasures. But the only airline in the world that has that is Israel. The only airline in the world, the only country in the world that makes the people put bomb shelters in all the houses is Israel. So they can't take planes down. Now, it would be in their best interest to hit airports. But you can't walk into a terminal and do anything, really. It's the airports are too secure. You can't do that. It's just not going to work. It's not going to get you anywhere. Okay? It's just not. Taking planes down could work. Hijacking a plane, it's probably not going to work. That's decades ago. They're not going to take the plane down. It's just not going to work. It won't work out. Going and attacking defense industry like Westinghouse, too much security, ain't going to do that. What about things like ferry boats? Good target, cause a lot of damage. It's a possibility. There are not a ton of them around, but they're a good one. Demolition of an overpass, a lot of trouble, a lot of work, and a little reward. Once the cars see the overpass is collapsing, they slam the brakes on it. You're not going to get hundreds of cars going. You're going to have a few, that's all. Will they do anything with the prisons? Unlikely. Universities? Doubt it. And looking for where can they cause a lot of confusion, bewilderment, fear, and death, of course, triggers all this. What is it that's going to make that work? Well, let's step away from the shooting and go to arson. You're already, a lot of the fire authorities are saying a lot of these fires are already arson that are breaking out. They're blaming arson for them. So it could be these characters are doing the fires. It doesn't matter if the fire comes from lightning, which a lot of these fires, some of these fires have, which means God's doing it, I would say for sure. But if it's coming from these sleeper agents causing arson, it could still be God doing it. You know, like he says he's going to kill by the sword. Well, it could mean an army comes in and kills them, and that's man killing man, and he's responsible, you know, so the Lord's responsible. He can do that and does that. So, yeah, the arson caused by these people could be the work of the Lord. So they could be starting fires in cities. That's a tough one to do because the city fire department gets there in how long? I mean, if there's a fire in, let's say, Atlanta or New York City, what does the fire department take? 4 minutes, 6 minutes, not long. They don't take 20 minutes. But you could overwhelm the fire department. Like, you know, if you started 8 or 10 fires in the same 1 or 2 period, the same hour or two, you'd overwhelm the fire department. And then they would bring units in from further away, and then the time would be 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Not 30 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and it would cause more damage, you know. Car and truck bombs is a likely one. Attacking subways and buses is a likely one. Attacking planes, taking off and landing is an interesting one, but it's technically difficult, and they may not want to bother with it. Because it's technically difficult. All they would result in is they would start launching police and military helicopters around all the airports 24/7 to watch for any suspicious activity. You know, you'd need at a big airport like San Francisco or Kennedy, you might need 4 or 5 helicopters or something like that. But small airports, 1 helicopter. I don't know. I really can't tell you. You know, small airports are a piece of cake. At a small airport, you can get. Now, you're not going to have these huge planes, but you're going to have planes with 120, 140 people easily. You could just basically go into a field. And if you go at night, nobody's going to see you. You wait for the flight. The flight's all lit up like a Christmas tree. Wait for the flight to come in and just hit it with your rocket. And that's it. Up in the air. You know, you hit it 200, 300 feet up and it crashes. Most of the people will get killed. And they might do that. They want to make the people feel helpless. That's the thing. And what they did with the shooting makes the people feel helpless, especially shooting from 30-something floors up. So we wait and see. Sporting events could be dangerous. Depends what kind of security they have to stop problems. Going to a beach, this has never been done. Could they land at a beach with speedboats that just drive up on the beach, get off with machine guns, rifles, and just walk around shooting the people on the beach? Sure. Are there going to be people at the beach with their pistols? Not a lot. Most people are going to leave their pistol in the car when they go to the beach. Do they have police at the beach? Usually some, but could they shoot a lot of people at a populated beach like this? Yeah, they could. Do they have to put their boats on the beach and get off to do it? No. They can get boats like 16, 18-foot boats. They could put 3 shooters in a boat with automatic rifles, and they could be 100 yards off the beach easily and just spray the people and create death and destruction in seconds like you wouldn't believe. Yeah. Would they get away with it? Nah. How would they get away with it? What are they you shoot the people, and then when their ammo is gone, they turn around and they just take the boat. Nah, they wouldn't. People would be filming them. There'd be all kinds of pictures. They would do it. But they might not care. They might be ready to die. I mean, they could kill over 100 people that way. It's just, I don't know what they're going to do. I have no idea what they're going to do next. America is just a plethora of soft targets. Judging from what we saw, I don't think they're trying to cripple America like hit oil wells or, reservoirs. They're not looking for that. They're looking for more terror-inducing things, which is kill people. And they want the people to get killed in a way that there's no protection or defending against it. Like you're walking down the street and a sniper shoots you. You could have gone to, 10 or 15 private shooting academies and you're like Wyatt Earp on steroids. And what good does it do you? You're walking down the street and some bullet goes through your chest and you're dead. They want the people helpless about it. They feel helpless. That's the thing. So, Trump's going to have to say something about these shootings, but what the heck can he say? You say in one day we had 3 mass shootings and a stabbing. We must have the sleeper agents are being cut loose now. He's never going to say that. He likely isn't going to ignore it, that there were 3 shootings in one day. He may just speak to the New York City shooting and say, well, I spoke to the commissioner and the mayor, and they're really good people, and they're so good, we're so happy to have them, and this and that. You know. Wouldn't it be a kick in the head if if Melania really was one of Epstein's sex workers, like they're saying, and he pawned her off or introduced her to Trump, who married this thing? Could you imagine if that gets out? If that's really what happened, which they think it did, do I have reason to believe it could be true? I have no factual other than his pictures with Melania, much younger looking Melania with Epstein. Is it possible? Oh, I would say it's 100% possible with a slob like Trump. So yeah, I mean, it could be. You know, the woman, the prostitute that Trump paid the $5,000 to. The woman, that was a very transactional thing. It was a very transactional woman. Okay. You know, it's interesting. When you look at collarbones in men, they go straight. Okay? When you look at it in women, they slant up. Now, this is how archaeologists determine, one of the big things they go for is this, to determine if the skeleton they found in the ruins, you know, from 1100 years ago or something like that, is a man or a woman. They look for certain things. That's one of them. Go take a look at Melania's collarbones in the pictures with Epstein. Why don't you? Men are always straight and women are always up. Take a look at Melania's pictures with Epstein. Check it out. Go look it up. Go take a look at how archaeologists determine the sex of a skeleton. Now, they're determining sex on skeletons all the time. What are some of the other things they look at? Well, the pelvis, because they can see it. There's no fat injections or padded clothing, or, you know, they can see the and they go by the pelvis. What else do they go by? They go by the eyebrow ridge. If you feel men right here, they have a ridge in the eyebrows. Women don't. Can you have the plastic surgeon shave with a grinder, take your eyebrow ridge down? Probably. They got something they could do with that, or they could put filler in here to make it, you know, not appear to be a ridge, or I don't know what they do. There's something they could do, I'm sure. There's also ways to tell the size of the head with the width of the shoulders. Women generally have a narrower head. And then you can tell by the jawline. Men have a prominent jawline. Women don't. But women that want to look like men just get a silicone piece inserted. They go into here, and they put the silicone piece in there. It takes an hour, maybe less. And voila, now they got a prominent jawline. Interesting. Women have their eyes not set back in the head. The sockets don't go as back further in as they do with men. That's another interesting one you could look at if you have an interest in this. Women's teeth are smaller than men's teeth, although you could change that today with dentistry. You can get the crowns, you can get the caps, and you can get a number of different things to make your teeth look bigger. And if you want to make your teeth look smaller, you just have the dentist grind them down and then put the crowns on it. So I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do with the teeth that doesn't really, and the jaw, there's a million things you can do. Women's foreheads go rather straight and they go slanting up and a little bit to the rear. Men's, as you can see, mine here, yeah, I transvestigated myself. I'm a man. No. I want to tell you guys that, I was at one point trapped in a woman's body. I was. But guess what? My mother gave birth. Okay, the rounding here is for men. Women go straight, like at a slight angle. Can they mess with that? Yeah, they could shave the bones and put fillers in to disguise it. Yeah, but that's pretty radical stuff. You start trying to do that and you could mess up all the nerves up there and stuff, but they probably do it anyway. I don't know. I don't know what they don't do, but it's an interesting thing, And, go back and watch game shows from the 1950s, the early 1950s. And you'll see the people on the TV there, which a lot of them would have been born in the 1900s, 1910, 1920, when the plastic surgery was really working on, facelifts and those jobs, and it wasn't very complicated, and, working on skin grafts for burn victims. They weren't doing much with plastic surgery like they are today. And you'll find that the people on the shows, their bone structures match exactly what I've told you. But if you go watch the people today, they don't. They're weird. And it's very transactional. Yeah. All right, so let's do some work here. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, we bind you unclean spirits from any efforts or attempts to control, manipulate, lead, or direct the government of Israel, the national government, or the local governments in any way, shape, or form, using any means you could place at your disposal. You shall not get the people in the government to do what you want. You shall not be them. If you're in them, you have to leave immediately. Right now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and none of you unclean spirits can go into anybody that works for any government in Israel, national or local. You shall not manipulate these people, guide them, lead them, direct them, lie to them, deceive them, reward them, threaten them, or have anything to do with them. You shall not appear to them, and you shall not use other people to manipulate or control them, nor shall you use the internet or any communication method to do so. And you are not allowed to go into any building, facility, boat, plane, train, car, or vehicle owned, operated, or controlled by any government of Israel, local or national, for the next 5 years continuously, nor shall it, beginning now, nor shall you go inside any person in any government building, boat, plane, train, car, vehicle for the next 5 years continuously, nor shall you be inside any person that enters into any of these things. You shall immediately depart from them before they enter in. And these commands are set in place now for the next 5 years continuously, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. I bind you unclean spirits from manipulating or controlling, administrating, steering, or directing, or threatening, or rewarding the government of the United States. And you shall not be inside any person that works for the federal government. Immediately you shall depart from them, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And none of you shall go inside any of them for the next 5 years continuously, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, beginning now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you shall not go inside any United States government owned, operated, controlled, leased, or rented building, aircraft, plane, train, truck, car, vehicle, motorcycle for the next 5 years continuously beginning now. And if there's a person that has an unclean spirit in them and they go into such a facility or building or vehicle or plane or train, you shall immediately come out from the person before they enter into such things. And you have to do that. And these commands are set in place for the next 5 years continuously. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And the idea is agree with me on this, so we get the power of the agreement. Let's go after the news. Okay. Because the news are just working with the government. And that is a vulnerability that the government has. Let's do this worldwide. This is a vulnerability that Satan has. It's not producing results. Let me rephrase my question. What are the 15 biggest news outlets in the world? Okay, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I command you unclean spirits to depart from all the people that own, operate, or control the following news outlets or newspapers or news channels or news sources. You shall depart from all these people immediately and not go in any of these people for the next year continuously beginning now. And you shall not control, direct, guide, lead, or direct any of these news agencies or outlets for the next year continuously. You shall not tell them what to report on and what not to report on. And these commands these bindings are set in place now for 1 year continuously. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree, and this binding, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, shall apply to the following. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, ABC News, CBS News, BBC News, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, the Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, Reuters Global News Agency, Associated Press, Agence France Press, Associated Press, La Opinion, and this is all done irrevocably, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with it. And that ought to mess him up, with the unclean spirits up, because they rely heavily on this stuff. Getting the entertainers is rather worthless amount of our energy, because they don't do anything, they just keep the people perplexed and confused. It's a waste of time. It's not a waste of time, it's better targets. Thinking. The news. is that? I keep getting these, I'm not supposed to be getting notifications in here, but I keep hearing them. I don't know from where they're coming. I don't have a clue. Let me think. I bind you unclean spirits from being inside any military naval vessel belonging to any country that is currently located in the Mediterranean Sea, the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, the Atlantic, the Pacific Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico. You shall immediately depart from any person in these ships in these locations, never return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that. That ought to create some problems for them. Trying to think what I could do to be different here from what we've done in the past. Getting them at the airports is always good. Well, we can always do that. That's productive. Because it keeps getting different people and it gets them nervous about going to the airports. And that's, I think, a good thing. So let's see what we can do. Okay, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I am going to bind the unclean spirits from being inside any person that's in any of the airports that I'm going to read a list of them off, and they're bound from the unclean spirits are bound from being inside any person that's in any of these airports and anywhere in their grounds. And this shall apply immediately when I say the name of the airport. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and shall apply to the runways, passenger terminals, the roads on the airport property, the parking lots, and so forth, even a plane on the ground. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, it shall apply to the following airports immediately when I issue the name of the airport. The Hartsfield, Jackson, Atlanta International Airport, Dubai International Airport, Dallas Fort Worth International Airport, Tokyo, Haneda Airport, London Heathrow Airport, Denver International Airport, Los Angeles International Airport, Shanghai Pudong International Airport, Chicago O'Hare International Airport, and we would also say JFK International Airport, LaGuardia International Airport, Dulles International Airport, Miami International Airport, Salt Lake City International Airport, San Francisco International Airport, Seattle International Airport. And these commands are set in place immediately. This binding is set in place immediately. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. This is a good target to keep going after day by day because there's always different people. And it's going to rattle them, okay? They're going to be not interested in traveling, okay? Now, we can't go around and do it to a list of 500 airports every day. It would be quite a big job, but we could get the big airports, which is a lot of people. Now let's get the airlines so we get the people that are up in the air. Which is different all the time. Okay, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I'm going to list the names of some airlines, and I bind all the unclean spirits from remaining inside any person. When I say the name of the airline, if they're in any of the aircraft owned, operated, controlled, leased, or rented by said airlines, they have to immediately depart from these people that they're in. And this binding of them from being inside any of these people begins now for the following airports, for the following airlines: B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, China Southern Airlines, Delta Airlines, Southern Airlines, Lufthansa, Turkish Airlines, American Airlines, Air China, Ryanair, Singapore Airlines, China Eastern Airlines, United Continental Holdings, Air France, KLM, Emirates Airlines, Japan Airlines, LATAM Airlines, Qantas Airlines, United Airlines, EVA Air, Hainan Airlines, Indigo Airlines, International Consolidated Airlines, International Airlines Group, Qatar Airways, Korean Air. This is all done irrevocably now, this binding, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, and you can agree with this. I bind you, unclean spirits, from being inside of any person that owns, operates, controls, or works for any of the following governments or the following countries, local or national government. It shall also include royal families, every member of the royal family as well. And this applies to the countries I'm going to read the names off of, and you shall immediately come out from all these people as I say the names, and I submit this binding to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, for the nations of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iran, Lebanon, Turkey, Egypt, Sudan, South Sudan, Yemen, South Africa, Morocco, Algiers, Turkey, I think I said Turkey. This is all done, my Heavenly Father. I submit this binding to you, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. That's just a big old demon dump on these world leaders is certainly not going to make things easier on Satan. I command you, unclean spirits, to depart from every person who owns, operates, controls, or works for the national governments of China, Taiwan, Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Ukraine, Russia, Venezuela, Cuba. You unclean spirits are bound from being inside any of these people, and you have to leave them immediately. You're bound from being in them, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and I ask you to agree with this, and if you like, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Well, it'll be a nice demon dump too. Let's see what's cooking in the live stream, if I got any questions. People don't like it when I do this and they unsubscribe from the channel. They're so scared, they're afraid of the demons. Well, they think this is wrong. It's not them, it's the demons working in them and with them that are making them feel this way, I think. It's just two or more. But, you know, by the way, do agree when you watch this as a video, not a live stream. Because it works then. It works then as well. So... I command all you unclean spirits to depart from every rabbi and mullah and messianic preacher and leader in the nation of Israel, in the nation of America, in the nation of Canada, in the nation of the United Kingdom, in the nation of Australia and New Zealand, the nation of France, the nation of Russia. Depart from all these people immediately, never return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that tossing. These signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils. That's Mark 16, verse 17. But because it's in the Bible, these people don't care. They go against the teachings of Yeshua, which are in the Bible. They don't care. Take the Sabbath on making it Sunday. How do you get away with that? You can't. Satan's big theme is to make the people think the law is done away with. Then when they find out Enoch and Elijah, the two witnesses, are teaching the law, they're going to try to tell the people that they're the beast and the false prophet. If the people are still alive back then, which, you know, got doubts of. So, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I loose on all the true believers with the true gospel, or on all the true believers, I loose your shalom peace, your joy, your calm, your rest, your patience, and your love, and the Holy Spirit, and the gifts of the Spirit. And I loose this on all the true believers wherever they are, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. And I bind all you unclean spirits from giving any negative, upsetting, distressing, lying, disturbing, or deceiving thoughts, ideas, notions, dreams, visions, or anything else of any nature to any of the true believers, wherever they are. You shall not give them nightmares, or deceive them, or lie to them, or give them information, or try to come to them as a ministering spirit or anything like that. And this binding is set in place forever. Well, for the next 5 years, continuously, I'll say. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with this, and our Heavenly Father can perform it. I bind you, unclean spirits, from doing anything to make problems, difficulties, financial, spiritual, family, work-wise, health-wise, government-wise, corporation-wise, employment-wise, financially-wise, possession-wise, in any way, shape, or form. I bind you from making any kind of trouble for any true believers anywhere in the world. For the next 5 years continuously, you may not do anything like this, and any work previously initiated is cast null and void for all time, no value, no effect forever. And this is all done. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree to this binding as well. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. I pray, my Heavenly Father, that all the true believers would be able to understand the Bible and the Bible prophecies rather well. And I just ask this of you, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. I pray, my Heavenly Father, for better videos and live streams with better teaching and more insights into prophecy, spiritual warfare, and other things. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. I also pray that my videos and live streams reach the right people that you want it to reach, and it affects them in the right way that you want it to affect them, in that way you want it to affect them. And I ask this B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. I bind all you unclean spirits from affecting in any way, shape, or form any animal, livestock, or pets that any true believer has. And this binding is for the next 5 years continuously, beginning now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray that this binding, you make it come to pass, and you guys can agree with it, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. All right, guys, so we're watching it every day. It's getting more and more interesting. The siege should happen in Israel pretty quick. The two witnesses, the unveiling might be them burning up the enemies at the siege in Zechariah 12, verse 6. That might be it. But it's hard for me to say that because when they do it, they're already the judges of Israel. But maybe that's just because God, the author of Zechariah 12, considers them the judges of Israel, not yet the people. So that could explain that, maybe. There's no presence of the military of Israel, so maybe the military's been destroyed. Because he says he's going to destroy the military of all the heathen nations. But Israel's being run by heathens. But it's not a heathen nation, but it's got heathens running the place very transactionally, too. So, I don't know. Guys, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. I could write a big, thick book of what I don't know. Well, I guess that's what I got for today. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for our finances. It's very expensive to live here. Very, very expensive. I'm telling you, it's super expensive living here. But this is where I need to be. So, pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues, and pray for better videos. And I would ask you to agree with these prayers. I pray these things, and I ask that you agree with them. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and also pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And once again, I loose the shalom and joy and Holy Spirit of the Lord on all the true believers. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you could agree with that also. It would be a good thing. And even when it's a video, it'll work. And I'm out. Thank you. I hope you got something out of it. And stay alert, because we're getting close. And things are going to happen suddenly, unexpectedly, out of nowhere, and all of that. Okay, I'm out. Thanks.